Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Dracovin Empire. Are you ready to travel through the multiverse and to gate your way into Golarion once more, the world setting of Pathfinder role-playing game? If you are, please grab my hand. I am your host and guide here, and can open up the gate and take you to Golarion, through the multiverse, through the universe, to visit it from our world, Earth. They're closer than you think, and connected. We're going to be heading to the Mwangi Expanse, visiting a city. Now, as interplanar travelers, we should be okay visiting and get through some of their rules. But just be on your best behavior when we arrive there, because, again, we aren't from that area. We might be able to get away without any kind of geese or memory alteration. Just, let's be careful. We're heading to Osibu. Through the gate we go. Oh, and do remember to tip, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and let me know what you think of all of this. We've arrived at Osibu. Deep in the Mwangi Expanse, a hidden city, known to very few, oftentimes spoke of in legend for its, well, golden streets. It is a golden city in many ways. Let's discuss it. Where are some other sources, though, that we can learn about this, other than basically what I'm talking about? Well, there are 3 other books I could recommend. Campaign Settings book is always a fine book for looking into stuff here. Of course, the Heart of the Jungle book and Mwangi Expanse from 2nd edition. Expanse will be the best. Osibu. Deep within the screaming jungle, a secret thing. In the colorful tangle is this location. A paradoxical golden city. A paradise, if you will. Prying eyes and greedy hands do not find this utopia. And even those that manage to find Osibu's and its true existence have to contend with the generations of misinformation and deception from this place. There are maps that acknowledge Osibu's existence, but many of those maps lead you to various other cities or ruins within the Expanse. So the process of actually finding the true city of Osibu is very hard. And this is on top of the escalating natural dangers, dissuasive flora and fauna in particular, that fight things. And this is controlled by the thrice-honored women, the spiritual leaders of past, that guard the city. There are a set of druidic statues that ring Osibu's walls and control the wildlife from beyond its walls for miles. So not only are you trying to find your way through maps that don't work to find the right area, but when you're getting close, the plants and animals, the flora and fauna in there, are going to be aggressive to you. So very few adventurers are successfully able to find their way to Osibu, and once getting there, welcome to the city. In order to be welcomed, you have to undergo a special geas, which binds them to secrecy upon their departure. Granted, this goodwill has been squandered in technical recent times. It's not that recent. Pathfinder Darren McLaren, a very famous historian, one of the founders of the Pathfinder Society, basically jumped into Osibu's Nemesis well to flee the city. There was more to the story than that. He was technically trying to destroy a horrible artifact of the Valor, bound to it as part of his entire reason going to Osibu. But he really didn't tell anybody about that going here. Again, he was using this Nemesis well, which is a problem on top of itself. To do such a thing, it's a massive mess and probably involves talking about Darren sometime in the future. Darren. You are a guy and have done some things, and yes. Maybe we'll do a video on Darren McLaren in the future. Regardless, though, his betraying the trust of the people of Osibu and avoiding the full effects of the geas is a very big thing that happened. He jumped in the well. He escaped the city. He had his findings, his notes, theoretically. Granted, his time and story of Osibu, I don't know how much of it is accurate, how much people will listen to. But still. But this betrayal has had the city on edge a lot more, and watching visitors a lot closer. And paranoia kind of grips it in the back end there. So, you still will see the flora, the fauna, the creatures of the Screaming Jungle who that's intermixed in the city and the people there. It hides that there is a far more difficult problem than just these creatures, the uneases. So, to talk about Osibu, we do have to talk a little bit, at least right now. We'll talk about it again. The Nemesis. Because its history is deeply tied to the history of Osibu and the city's guardian, Damari Digi. Damari Digi is an ancient arboreal. Just as a quick little side note, for those of you that don't know, arboreal is the type of creature that was, in 1st edition Pathfinder, treants, and would have been called that in D&D. In Pathfinder, they are arboreals. They're a lot different to them. They are changed. They basically were already changed when it came to 2nd edition, even more now in the Monster World. But it's an ancient arboreal. Damari Digi witnessed Earthfall with his own eyes. This is a being that saw an apocalypse. That is the first memory he does have, is witnessing that apocalypse. And the deaths of all of his siblings. So yes, this Watcher fears that whatever wisdom he holds can't stay the threat. That is this Nemesis. Basically, Damari Digi stopped here and started guarding this well in the sky. Something that he felt could cause another apocalypse. The city grew up around it. Beings like Old Mage Dikembe visited. But the real history of the city comes into when a particular druid visited the meeting. About negative 3,300 AR. A Zenji druid, Kamar, basically got into a deal with him to settle the city around the forest, around the well, and help guard it. And this became Osibu. It wasn't until about 2203, when the Atlas Consortium discovered Osibu, that their current standing and setup for how they deal with outsiders came into being. Rather than killing people, wiping their memory, putting gases on them, or having them have to stay in the city. Your kind of choice on that. If you find the city, you either are, now you're living in the city, regardless though you have to have a chaos that says you won't share anything about it, hey, you're still an outsider. Or, memory wiping, stuff like that. So yeah. That is the history of this place, the Nemesis. The Whispering Well, which whispered once, maybe every year, made some strange noises and stuff, which as of more recently has become monthly. Something that's a little bit disconcerting. Certainly speaking, it affects Damari Digi. It affects the elected council, the Chiara, having them take protective action, basically trying to add in a little bit transparency to the people, hide less of the secrets, because there is something threatening there. They settled this place knowing the Nemesis well was a difficulty and a problem. Yeah. Anyway. But Osibu, their people, commoners, rulers alike, are as vibrant as their surroundings. It's a tightly knit community, maintained its infrastructure being shared and forested over countless generations. The ancient wisdom of the trees, lost in other corners of the world, alive and well, being basically seeded and kept alive for Osibu's future generations. Ancient knowledge from a powerful ancient tree druid who saw the last apocalypse, lived through it, and has been around since then, and worries that he might not have enough power to stop this. Maybe the Osibu's people will be strong. So they aren't completely isolationist, though. So that's a thing to keep in mind. Especially in more modern days, they've kind of modified their isolationist things. Configure it that basically they aren't necessarily disconnected from the world. And the major way to do this is through its youth. Growth is more of a spiritual concept of Osibu than a material one. And through the wisdom of the royal regent, Gamari Jiji, they've basically internalized the notion of letting people grow into individuals they need to be in order to best benefit the whole, as long as they don't betray the larger community. So, the outside world is conveyed to Osibu through the eyes of its youngers in their transformative years. Very, very akin to how, basically they send their youth out into the world, see some things, and they come back. This perspective has guided the city well. But again, like, there are problems with the outside world, distrust, so there are fears about it, what if someone betrays the city, things like that. So yeah. Alright. There's a nice map of the city of Osibu. Let's talk about the city a little bit, and know a little bit about it. So there are a couple of prominent locations here, and this is beyond the 12 districts. I guess we'll start with the 12 gardens, the 12 different primary neighborhoods. So there's Hyapya at the northern edge of the city. This neighborhood is a contemplative, and is a neighborhood of contemplation and learning of Osibu's youths, largely tending to the city's small elven population. From their sides curve the colorful, welcoming gardens of Aikku and Vyuku. I'm probably butchering these names, so I apologize. Who have rich local cultures of families, shelter, occasional outsiders. That's kind of what we got the youth kind of educational area in the north, with the two basically kind of outsider kind of connected ones situated south of Kapameni, which we'll talk about. Distia features tall grains in an open field where the fauna of the jungle freely congregate. South of that, of Distia, is the center of Osibu lies, Osir. Along with Nemesis Well, its diamond shape has the tallest of Osibu's trees, which are tended to in such a way to irrigate the rest of the city during heavy rainfall. 4 heavily residential neighborhoods, the Gianya, Lyra, Saitsi, and Java, again, sorry if I'm butchering these, wedged together to form the city's southwestern quarter. Each is styled after one of the 4 seasons, and their color as travelers to the rest of it. The river district of Elbia, just southeast of the city center, contains an intersection of all major roads, as well as most of the elderly population of Osibu. In the city's southeast corner, Oroagia, also known as Old City, forms a dense garden with ancient plants long unseen and forgotten the rest of the expanse. Lastly, Goriamia, known as the Tangle, encircles the rest of the city with the statues of the thrice-honored women and a thicket of ants treacherous to outsiders. The Osiban military largely comprised those of serving a year-long tenure after completing their sprouting. We'll talk about that. Operate in this thicket within the city's boundaries. The sprouting is their traveling out through the Iajara, the conservatory of Ever, is a structure that is not really readily accessible to the public. It's basically got the most precious plants of the city. It's a large domed greenhouse with irrigated soil, the rarest and most remarkable plants in the Grungy plants gathered and cultivated. This is actually where the Acharya, the ruling council, meets their end. And they're buried here to nourish the plants, and in return, the rarities of Golarion flourish. It's also a meeting place and deliberation chamber for them. So it's where they go die, and for the sheriff and sheriff. So, yes, it's in the innermost corner of Oriabja, the old district. So it might have had other functions in the past. There is a bazaar area. Irju Yurindra. Again, apologize for butchering any of these. These are very difficult, and I'm very bad at even pronouncing English. The Bazaar of Favors. It is kind of a marketplace, but basically, because everybody kind of shares everything that they need, what it is people will offer skills to help citizens with whatever they might need in exchange for future, basically, favors. And this barter of time and energy is the main commerce of the city. This tradition has been under suspicion since Darren McLaren basically used this in his attempts to research the Nemesis well and set up things for his escape. So, yeah. So there are some new rules since that time. No favors can be traded regarding the well, the ruling council, or matters beyond the Tangle, basically the area around the city walls. It's also a place of courtship and good humor, with friends and family wrangling, displays of affection out of floral arrangements or arranged in lavish feats that paraded through the streets. So yes. The Nemesis well is also in this city. Keep that in mind. The ever-widening mall of wafting turquoise ether, protected by a stained glass dome 5 times the size of the well, the well's ancient guardian, cuts into the heart of Osibu. Damari DG guards the well day and night, and it has long stayed dormant until more recent. Basically, only occasionally waking inhabitants with its sinister whispers. It was every 5 years. But now it's about once a month, where it haunts people with sleepless nights and terrible dreams. And these whispers take a toll on the populace. So, yeah, it's, these intensifying has led the city to station groups centuries around the well to an event of catastrophe aid Damari Diji any way they can. So they're basically like, hey, yeah, something's going on. If this activates, just in case, we're gonna put our a group of people that can help you on the initial whatever the heck is happening. Finally, the last place to talk about in the city is the Volvaria, the Return. Okay, so this is a structure that's adorned with traditional doors, one of the few places. We'll talk about it. Basically, one of the places that has a door in the entire place here. It's where the Sprouting, the young, that have come to stay, and basically check in. They're questioned about the outside world, kind of interrogated for any duplicity, to portray the security of the city. They're basically pierced and decorated with materials they brought back from their travels, mapping their journey for other Osirians, Osibians to see. Then they can enter into the city as an adult. So yeah, if their return aligns with the death of one of the Chariot, basically the process has another step. The Chariot are asked if the Sprouting felt the death of the soil during the last days of their term. If they answer yes, then their description of this morbid sensation aligns with the departed's completion of their withering, and this could be a candidate for replacement. Also, it's the second function, the Golarion. Basically, assuring that those who have betrayed Osibu's trust don't retain knowledge of the city. They have a unique serum to remove memories of the city during dreamings. That must be carefully crafted by hand to align with the individual's unique composition, taking into account the length of their stay, whether they originate from Osibu. So, yeah. They can make it for you. Alright. Let us continue our journey through Osibu. Now that we know about the city, let's talk about the people in charge of the city. The 100 Chart. The democratically appointed stations among the city's population. Basically, so 100 of them are appointed. Another gets nominated by the 12 gardens, or neighborhoods, of Osibu, whenever one foresees or chooses their passing, known as the Wither. As a cherub departs their mortal life, her spirit assumes the tenure of one of the twice-honored women, who remains the city's protective ward. Just as the appointed cherub relieves her of her duties, she relieves one of the twice-honored, who then rests until being born again, These ancient spirits bestow what an outsider calls divine femininity upon the children that are born, regardless of sex. This pattern is rumored to have started with the first 100 wise women who convinced Demiri Gigi to stay in the city. Reasons unknown. The eldest in charge is known as the Urcharyu, the Oracle of the Honored, who serves as senior herb mistress. She serves the senior herb mistress who tends to Demiri Gigi and guides the rest of the sisters. When the rest of Charya often sends their guests a week or more in advance, Urcharyu is always sudden to her. She instead possesses an arcane sight of dreams and nightmares, always from the vantage point of those who have left the city. Because the clairvoyance has connected her with so many others and robbed her of the ability to see plans for her death, she results in wasting no time in service of the community. So the eldest is this sheriff, Chayu. So the current Chayu is this one here, a halfling, Umanja Jinga. She's suspected of having distinct lineage from the Songo people, and she's been in duty for 10 years, the last 3 which have been haunted by unease from the escape. So, yeah. Of course, we can't forget the tree, Demiri Gigi, very important, 10,000 years old, the probably oldest living creature in Golarion today. Every day, Demiri Gigi allows one of the commoners to ask him a question as he tends the nemesis well. He usually allows 3 inquiries, but the distractions from the more recent requests basically have made this a little more difficult. He holds his meetings in the morning when he wakes from his brief sleep. So yeah, he hangs out with the Urcharyu, the final tree of the Elder World is what his moniker is. An arboreal that survived. The citizenry basically don't understand his worry the same way. He worries that things won't be ready for the well, and that things have basically accelerated in what's going to happen with it. The Claren's betrayal of the city, basically breaking the protocols. It's a mess. Nonetheless, he continues his ever-vigilant watch, helps the people, guides them, provides them information, advice, as they need it. Let's talk about the people of the city. So life is a paradise in many ways, but it's also a threatened paradise. There will be dreams, good roads, architecture involved with sweet scents, fruits, nectar, flowers, the surrounding community, lovingly diligent and nurturing. But this hypervisibility and sharing, barring a few exceptions, is very important. Most private aspects are kept within the people's minds and dreams. The city has a saying, out of mind, into soil. So basically, if it's something you're going to basically bring out into the world, you share it with everyone. Whatever's spoken or shown to the community, whatever's spoken or shown is for the community to build. Few outsiders that make their way to the city don't struggle with this concept, but it's left the city to flourish since Earthfall. The Golden City resembles a sprawling community garden. Every alcove, house, road, plaza leads a plot for the stunning collection of plants. Smaller plants, flowers, shrub, and grasses line the curving golden roads, and occasionally open up into circular plots of kaleidoscopic flora. Larger trees knot into carefully hewn canopies that bend perfectly into the screaming jungle's arboreal visage. Within the city, an array of trees and flora represent the diversity of the expanse, and then some, be it tangles and loops through Osibu's often doorless and windowless structures. Many other structures are made of stained or blown glass and coated with linen canopies. Nothing more substantial. The open nature basically keeps their generousness out, but it also holds people accountable. And again, if it's in your mind, that is private. Out in the world, spoken or shown, it's for everybody. The network of plant life throughout the city basically sharply the network of vibrant plant life leave throughout the city's sharply pointed households. And you can discern the well-established neighborhoods by basically the flora that run unbroken through a series of houses. Basically, the plant life tells you where the divisions between the gardens, the neighborhoods are. Many of these collectives are rather familiar in the rapport, having maintained these gardens for countless generations, and they share the larger Osibu community. The fauna of the jungle has a seemingly sprawling equal rapport with the Osibian public. Due to the druidic mechanisms of the twice-honored women, even the most predatory creatures that wander through the walls take a docile, friendly temper as long as there is an immediate threat to the community members. So yeah, big, mean predators that would be dangerous and throughout the spoon jungle. The powerful druidic magic there means they're just gonna wander in and kind of like, sup, you know. Through the ages, the nature has typically and officially turned cruel against those foolish enough to threaten peace in the city. This is, for everyone, the best place to engage with the wildlife of the Screaming Jungle. But because of this, the people of Osibu are staunchly vegetarian. There's also a font of long-lost knowledge concerning health and wellness. The elders of the city, many of whom are human in ancestry, appear to be a fraction of their age. Saber-freckled skin, silver hair, many elders in Osibu resemble their youthful adult selves, despite holding far more years in their bones. The Osibian people conquer mortal ravages and disease in ways most necromancers, alchemists, and Golarions would dream of, because of the practices and secrets of Damari Gigi has passed down to them. Death in Osibu is quite painless and anticipated. Most elders preparing to leave the mortal coil know when their hour is approaching, sometimes a whole day in advance, and are sent off with a communal blessing and celebrations. Despite this city commonality, basically there's the unease of the escape. This place is a utopia, and this is threatening. Paranoia in the jungle. It basically changed the city, and how the elected republic of elders, of women, cherub, or seed women, that's what it means, handle security. So yeah. Now, the Osibians are warm and talkative. There's only about 10,000 people that live within the circular plan of the city. Their citizens think their home is a small community, though secluded, and are fiercely aware of the immediate world around them. So this is where we talk about the sprouting. It is unusual for them to send out benevolent spies under a geas that binds them to secrecy, who then return with reports to the outside world. The journey known as the sprouting is a rite of passage of use pathway to adulthood, as the young gather light from the outside world and bring it back to the city proper to nourish their community, continued growth and sustenance. The elders hold on to secrets, but the youth keep the city itself young and present in the world. The generation report is collaborative, as a sprouted younger generation returns with customs, technologies, and fashions that fascinate them from outside world. The community reinterprets these findings using the bounty of natural resources they've attained in the city for so many ages, kind of honoring nature's kindness through their work. City elders say mindful not to cling to the past solely out of comfort, but there is a custom they never broke. Moving any sprouted local who voices hopes of bringing Osibu splendor beyond the walls of the place on the women. Osibu natives receive 3 chances in this guard. Guests get 1. So it's a 3 strikes, then you're screwed. 1 for an outsider. A second mishap by an outsider marks them as a threat to the solitude and calls the authorities to administer the dreaming. Hey, you don't know thinking anymore. Normally a standard process for those that wish to leave the city, with alternate being the same chaos of secrecy used in the use sprouting. So if you don't want to forget your memories, you still have to do the chaos that you won't share anything that you know about the city. So one or the other. It's also used on troublemakers. Subject consumes food and drink, carefully prepared with them into a deep sleep. Days later, they wake far off in the bounds of the surrounding jungle, where the sheriff can spare more transit as magic fades, memories of the city, and any hints that they might have been brought to settle in the first place, and Osibu remains more than a little half-remembered dream. Anyway, there you go. There's the city of Osibu, in a nutshell. Kind of most of what we know about. An interesting place because, certainly speaking, I could see a major adventure taking place here. The Nemesis, well, could become a threat in an adventure path in the future, or an adventure. It certainly is sitting there, a danger. But the city itself, its people, its hiding spot, this ability to hide, is also very interesting. It remains hidden, quiet, in the jungle, unknown to the outside world through magic and work. Though again, this is changing. The need to send youth out deeper into the world, to see more. Heck, Ymiri Digi is basically planning more of that. Now more of the Sprouter are sending out little packets of some of the fungi that he has on him. So when that fungi spreads to a tree, Ymiri can see through it. Ymiri's vision is growing. He has to know what's going on in the world. He has to know more. There's considerable going on. And he will keep his promise. The promise that founded the city. The promise that guards the Nemesis world. Next time there's an apocalypse, he will avert it. That is the promise this Arboreal has made. That is the promise that Osibu, in a way, has made. From the ancestors that decided to settle there, enjoy his wisdom, and assist him in protecting the world from this world, which very well could cause the next apocalypse. That is what Ymiri Digi said. That is why Osibu said. And that is why Osibu is such an interesting and complex. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed learning all about that. Please remember to check out any of my other stuff. This can be any of my other videos, either up on YouTube or when I go live over on Twitch. Live is recording stuff for the tabletop, doing other video games, and other variety content that way. Recordings, doing some live plays of games, or discussing tabletop Saturdays at 6, where we talk about news of the week and interesting discussion topics. Always check that out. My schedule, though, for the week goes up on my social media, which is a great place to check up on me, see what's going on. That's Discord, Blue Sky, Twitter/X, and of course, I do put some stuff over on the community of my YouTube channel. Alright, everybody. I do hope you enjoyed. Do remember, as I said at the beginning, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Let me know what you think about Osibu, this mission here, and what kind of adventure would you have? Exploring and discovering Osibu, perhaps doing something with the well? You know? There is a lot of different directions that could be taken for adventures here. I don't know if I necessarily would use the Nemesis well. It seems like a big storyline kind of point. But some of the other aspects of the storyline of Osibu would be very interesting to us. Anyway, until the next time, though, I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.